Have you ever felt like you were doing all the right things, but you're still not getting anywhere? Like with your health, your work, your relationships? Like you're working hard at your job and everything else, and even trying to stick to something like going to the gym because it is January, but nothing seems to click. I know how frustrating that can be. You start thinking, maybe I'm not cut out for this. What's the point if nothing ever works? Trust me, I have been there. And for the longest time, I actually thought the answer was to just do more, work harder, try harder, follow every piece of advice that I could find and read about. But no matter how much I tried, no matter what I did, the result just never matched my effort. Welcome to Be You, the podcast that helps you break free from expectations, embrace your true self, and live confidently as the real you. What's up, my peeps? Happy Podcast Thursday. So, I want to begin with a story about when I first started teaching. I was a teacher for 24 years. I taught theater, I taught high school theater. And I just remember when I first started teaching and directing plays, I thought what I needed to do was look at what other great directors and teachers were doing and do what they were doing. So I studied their styles. In the beginning, I really tried copying their methods. And I thought, well, if that thing worked for them, it'll certainly work for me. But in actuality, I know you can guess it right now. That's why we're doing this podcast episode. It didn't work for me. My shows and productions fell flat. We didn't advance. The energy like that I was coming into rehearsals with, the students with, was just off. And then I started to wonder, did I make a mistake? Was I even cut out for this? I was so focused on doing everything right and copying what I thought was working with other directors that I completely lost who I was, my creative edge, and honestly, I lost every bit of my confidence. It wasn't until I had gone on, we had had a rehearsal and we were rehearsing for one act play. And so the first 2 years of teaching high school and high school theater, we didn't really advance very far. And so one day during my third year, I was sitting just reading my note after I'd had a pretty frustrating rehearsal. And it dawned on me, it really wasn't what I was doing. It was who I was being. And you know how sometimes the answers hit you when you're not even looking for them, when you least expect it. Well, that's exactly the realization, how it came to me. I wasn't being me. I wasn't showing up fully as me with my creativity, with my authenticity. It was actually who I was being. So that realization helped me to realize that I was so focused on being like someone else, doing like they were doing it, that I completely lost my own voice, my own authentic way of doing things. And when I look back and think about it, I was actually being someone I didn't recognize. Let's not talk about the energy that I was bringing in those situations. It wasn't inspiring anyone, not myself, not my cast, not my students, and definitely not the person that I wanted to be, the person that I believed I was in that moment. My peeps, have you had moments like this where you didn't recognize who you were, where you wish you could take back some of those things that you did and said and how you showed up? But when I focused on who I was being, I recognized that I wasn't being confident. I recognized I wasn't being authentic. I was being hesitant. I was being unsure of myself. I was stuck in my head. I was overthinking, second guessing myself. In that moment, I made a decision. I was going to stop pretending. I was going to stop trying to direct and teach like other people. I was going to stop carrying around this huge amount of fear that I wasn't good enough, that I needed to copy how they were doing things. And instead, I made a decision that day that I was going to start showing up with high energy and a high level of intensity. I was always intense because I coached sports at the same time and I directed when I played. So sometimes you couldn't tell if I was on the field or if I was on the stage directing. And I tell you what, when I made that decision to show up fully, like in my own style and my own authenticity, everything changed. What happened was I started teaching and directing my shows in my own way, bringing my personality. I was really, really over dramatic. So I really wanted to do, dramas that were intense. I started bringing my creativity. I started bringing my vision to the table, the things that I love doing. And things actually started working. And you know what? That year number 3, we made it to state, which is a big deal. I was still teaching in Texas at this time. It's a big deal with one act play. This isn't just about teaching or directing. It's about everything because the world doesn't respond to just what you're doing. It responds to who you're being while you're doing it. Think of it like this. 2 people can walk in the same room, say the exact same words. One exudes confidence, one is intentional, the other is stress and maybe full of self-doubt, maybe distracted. The energy they bring changes how people respond to them. In a lot of cases, the results that they get, it changes the results that they get. So when it comes to energy, it's not just physical. Your energy it's emotional, it's mental, it's spiritual because your energy speaks before you even say a word. Like your energy leads you into the room. So if you're showing up full of doubt, fear, and frustration, that's the vibe that we're putting out. And guess what? People pick up on that. But when we're grounded, we're confident and aligned with who we really want to be in that moment. That's when I believe relationships improve, opportunities rise, things begin to flow more easily and feel better. Not because we're trying harder or doing more, it's just because we're showing up differently in how we're being. So have you ever noticed like when you're in a good mood, everything seems to just work? You find that parking spot that day, maybe even your coffee tastes better. You just feel so confident in how you look and how you show up, and the words just flow and roll off your tongue. And that day, even Karen from accounting seems to be tolerable. Just that one day, though. That's not a coincidence. It's your energy oozing out of your pores, rippling out before you as you walk into the room. But on the other hand, when you're in a funk, the world will match that funk too. The traffic gets worse. You spill coffee all over your clothes. You step in dog shit. Everybody's on your last nerve. Back in the day, I would say whenever I would wake up on the wrong side of the bed before I started intentionally creating who I was being, I would wake up and go, I'm having a case of the don'ts. I would tell Shelly, I don't feel like being bothered with anybody. I don't feel like going to work. I just have a case of the don'ts. And I knew in those moments that I probably shouldn't be around people because I didn't want to be around people. That was old Trey years ago. So ultimately, yeah, your being matters, and it matters a lot. The best part about what I'm sharing with you today, you don't need to overhaul your entire life to start seeing some changes. We can just begin with a few simple shifts. Like for instance, as I've been talking about, your energy sets the tone for everything that you do. So before you enter into a conversation, a meeting, a workout, pause and check in with yourself and ask yourself, who am I being? What kind of energy am I bringing into this situation? And intentionally decide, because people will feel it and they will respond and mirror back to what you're putting out, what we are putting out. The next thing is trying to copy someone else's style is exhausting. Trust me, I know all about it. When being yourself is game changing. And for me, again, the turning point came when I stopped imitating other directors and started using my own voice. And then my work and my relationships started to thrive. You see, your relationships are like mirrors. If you're being open and curious, you'll get trust and connection right back. But if you're being defensive, if you're being negative, you're being distracted, then that energy also will shape how others respond to you. If you want better relationships, if I want better relationships, start with intentionally who we're being. And finally, who you're being just doesn't affect you. It creates a ripple effect and everything around you. When we align our energy and actions with our best selves, we don't have to force any outcomes. Things just begin to flow. Progress feels easier, and the people around us feel it too. So I just wanted to leave you with this question. Who are you being today? Who are you being today? How are you showing up? Are you being someone who is positive and confident and what they bring to the table, to the conversations, to relationships? Or are you showing up like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, dragging around with that old brother energy? Well, if that's the case, you're not going to get very far. We're going to keep getting those same results that we don't want because we got a suck-ass attitude. So the amazing thing is you get to choose. Every single day, you can decide to show up as a version of you who's aligned with the life that you want. The version of you who is happy that you woke up, period. Doesn't matter which side of the bed you woke up on, you get to choose and decide to be the version that woke up this morning, the version that is grateful, the version of you that adds to people rather than making people want to run the other way, the version that makes people want more of you. And when you intentionally focus on who you're being in all of those moments, I promise you, you will get different results. So as I close, my peeps, the world doesn't need us. It doesn't need you to be perfect, because the results that we're chasing aren't about doing more. It's not about working harder. It's about showing up as a version of ourselves that aligns with who we truly want to be and what we're truly in pursuit of. So the next time you're stepping into your day, ask yourself, is this how I want to show up right now? Is this who I want to be? Am I bringing my best energy, or am I just dragging around all the crap society threw at me for the first 20 years of my life? That one question can change everything. How we show up on a daily basis doesn't just affect us, it ripples out into everything and everyone that we interact with, everyone around us. So, my peeps, before I completely wrap up, I want to just tease next week. We're going to be building on everything that we talked about today, because next week I'm sitting down with Lisa Gregory, who went from feeling stuck to creating a career and life that aligned with her authentic self. She didn't do it by doing more. She did it by changing how she showed up and rewriting the story that she told herself. All right, my peeps, thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of the show that I love so much. And I really hope that it's serving you in whatever ways that you need to be served and learn and growing from this show. My peeps, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And if this episode resonated with you in any way, I would love for you to share it with someone who could benefit from hearing this message. And if you're on this journey of rediscovering your authenticity, your self-worth, know that you're not alone. And if you'd like some help rediscovering your authentic core, getting back to who you know you are and who you were created to be, I want you to click the link in the show notes and let's talk. All right, my peeps, we'll talk next week. My peeps, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And if this episode resonated with you in any way, I would love for you to share it with someone who could benefit from hearing this message. And if you're on this journey of rediscovering your authenticity, your self-worth, know that you're not alone. And if you'd like some help rediscovering your authentic core, getting back to who you know you are and who you were created to be, I want you to click the link in the show notes and let's talk. All right, my peeps, we'll talk next week.